Well, our garden outside WLTX is bursting with blooms and fruits as we approach the official start of the summer this weekend. But before we look towards the hottest months of the year, meteorologist Alex Calamia shows us what went wrong, but most importantly, what went right for him this spring.
This is my first spring gardening in South Carolina, and this spot was totally bare back in March, so I had a lot of work to do. But the COVID-19 pandemic gave me and many other gardeners the opportunity to really put in the work, and let me tell you, it's starting to pay off. Back in March, we talked about planting tomatoes, sunflowers, and squash seeds in order to keep the kids busy during stay-at-home orders. The sunflowers, they only creeped in April, but they leaped in May, and in June, they became stunning. So it only took 2 months for them to really grow fast. Just to give you some perspective of how tall those sunflowers are, we're talking 10 to 13 feet with more on the way. The tomatoes are all now fruiting, and the squash are growing up to 1 foot a week in every direction. I started watermelon seeds in mid-April, and in just 6 weeks, they're already beginning to fruit. Look at how fast the fruit is growing. This picture taken 3 days before this picture. They're doubling in size every few days, so they're very easy to grow and fun to watch. And it's no surprise that cool-loving crops like lettuce and peas are starting to fade, but despite loving the cooler weather, others like kale and broccoli are still continuing to produce. While there's no doubt we've had our fair share of storms this year, the weather overall this spring has been really working in favor of plants, especially compared to last year. Check out the numbers. April 2019 definitely was warmer than this past April, and it was a little bit drier too. So we already started off spring on a pretty good note this year, especially considering how wet the winter was. May, even more moisture came into our area. We had our second wettest May on record, over 9 inches of it, compared to last May, which was our second hottest on record. The plants had a lot more water to work with this year, and the heat just hasn't been as extreme. As we go into summer, heat and humidity will be a challenge for some crops like tomatoes and squash, but we have plenty of heat-loving plants that are going to be interesting to watch as the summer progresses. And we'd love to see how your garden has grown this past spring. Has COVID-19 changed your backyard for the better or the worse? Join us on our Facebook group, WLTX Gandy's Gardeners. You might see your yard in a future story. I'm meteorologist Alex Calamia. Happy gardening.